Ghost of Yotei dropped a new trailer at Gamescom with a big surprise at the end. It gives us new insights into the game's story and gameplay elements, plus a huge piece of post-launch content that's dropping somewhere next year. We also have some new weapon details from recent gameplay clips, so let me talk you through everything. And by the way, we're doing a giveaway for the digital deluxe edition of the game, the link to which you'll find in the pinned comment. Make sure you're a subscriber of the channel before entering, and good luck. And while I definitely want to go over the entirety of that new trailer, the biggest announcement came at the end of it, as Sucker Punch revealed that the multiplayer Legends mode will also be returning for Ghost of Yotei. Just like with Tsushima, the mode will be released post-launch as a free DLC for all players somewhere in 2026. With Tsushima releasing in July 2020 and then Legends releasing in October that same year, I can definitely see them dropping it early 2026, but depending on how ambitious their plans have gotten, they might need some more time to get it ready, and with the content being free again, I definitely don't feel like complaining about that. And while details are scarce, we have some extra info from a PlayStation blog post that went live with the trailer. When it comes to game modes, Ghost of Yotei Legends will offer 2-player story missions and 4-player survival matches, which is on par with what Legends offered on release, but that was of course later expanded with a raid, a nightmare difficulty and a versus mode, so I'm expecting some extra content drops for Ghost of Yotei Legends as well. The class system will also be returning as confirmed by the blog post, and we can actually see them at the bottom of the reveal artwork right here. From left to right, these look to be the Samurai, Assassin, Hunter and Ronin, so the same selection as we had in the first Ghost. However, with the new weapon-based combat system, I can definitely see them refining each class's identity even more. Maybe certain classes receive buffs for certain weapon types, like the Samurai being better with an Odachi and the Assassin with the Kusarigama, for example. Just speculation of course, but at the very least these weapon types will make the loot system a lot more exciting than finding only katanas with different stances. And we will need some good weapons to fight what we are up against, as Legends is once again adding a mythological flair to its levels and enemies. In fact, our main antagonist will be demonic giant versions of members of the Yotei 6, which appear in the reveal artwork as well. I can't exactly make out all of them, but the one on the right kind of looks like the snake, and the figure on top, which is flipped upside down I believe, has these very pronounced ears, just like the Kitsune mask. And I just really like this idea in general because it fits with the way Legends is worked into the game's canon. In case you don't remember, Tsushima's Legends were basically stories told by the storyteller Gyozen. He could not believe that one man could stand up against the Mongol invasion, so his stories concern a group of ghosts who take on the invaders together. For Yotei, these new stories exaggerate the evil of the Yotei 6 to such mythical proportions that they literally become larger than life monsters. So while this means Legends ties in nicely to the main story, it also gives Sucker Punch the space to play with more fantastical elements, which you can definitely see in some of the new enemies they revealed. And real quick, if you enjoyed the video so far, be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next Ghost of Yotei video. Okay, let's talk enemies, because like Legends in Tsushima, Yotei Legends will add some mythological foes that won't appear in the main story, and we have artwork for 3 new additions already. There is the imposing looking Oni Lord with some very cool armor and a massive helmet, but even more intimidating is the Oni Grenadier, who has this sick looking mask and a very interesting weapon that he's holding in his hands. I think it's called an Otsutsu, which is effectively a handheld mortar, so these guys will likely harass you with explosive ammo from afar. Now this weapon also raises an interesting question about the disarm system I've had for a while now. We know Atsu can pick up dropped weapons from enemies, but the ones we've seen have all been weapons she is able to use by herself, like spears and swords. But there are many enemies in both the Legends mode and the base game that wield weapons that aren't part of Atsu's kit, like this giant axe, these dual hooked blades, and of course the Otsutsu. While I'm not expecting a full-blown moveset for these, it would be really cool if we can pick them up to perform a special attack with them, like cleaving a single enemy with the giant axe or launching a single shot with the hand mortar. Especially if Legends adds some more of these crazy weapon types, I think that would make for a very interesting combat sandbox. But that's wishful thinking on my end, we'll have to wait and see if that is actually the case. Okay, back to the Legends enemies, because we still have to talk about the Yuki Onna, a strangely beautiful woman-like spirit clad mostly in white. In Japanese myth, these are spirits of those who likely died in a snowstorm, and as such they are chilling cold to the touch and often end up freezing their victims. So I imagine these will show up during a more snowy mission as well, maybe leading an ambush of those shinobi that also like to hide in the snow. So some pretty cool reveals already, although I'm expecting we'll get to see a lot more before Ghost of Yotei Legends its releases in 2026. Now Ghost of Yotei itself is of course releasing on October 2nd, so only a couple of weeks left, and the store page for the game was recently updated to reveal some pretty cool new info, because lethal mode will be available at launch. In case you don't remember, this unique difficulty mode was added to Tsushima as a post-launch update, and it increased both your damage and enemy damage massively, meaning pretty much anyone who enters the battlefield dies in 1 or 2 strokes of a blade in that difficulty. In fact, looking at the gameplay shown so far for Yotei, it would not surprise me if all of that was recorded on this mode too, looking at the time to kill. We also got some new info from that Gamescom trailer, like a sneak preview of our boss fight against the Oni, who definitely looks intimidating with that big sword and all that armor. In another shot, we can see Atsu stabbing a man as she's overwhelmed, and judging by that scaled shoulder plate, I am guessing this is the snake. And we also get to see a snippet of conversation between Atsu and Lord Saito, who is surprised that she's still alive. Now that we know he finds that out during the story, it's definitely going to paint an even bigger target on Atsu's back. I'm definitely excited to learn more about the villains and also their relationship to Atsu's family, because they really seem to want to eradicate that entire bloodline for some reason, as we can see a short flashback snippet of Atsu's brother being shot in the chest point blank, which is just disrespectful in general, and they're doing it to a kid. So just in case you were still wondering why Atsu became such a vengeful person, well, there's an answer, I suppose. I also spotted a familiar move in combat, as this attack looks identical to the Heavenly Strike that Jin had access to. Curious to find out if every weapon will have its own techniques now, but there are some returning ones from Tsushima, as we can see here. You can also pull off a pretty sick combo with your wolf, where he opens an enemy to attack by clamping down on their arm, and then you can finish them off with a single strike. And speaking of combat, we also got some new gameplay footage from the Yari spear and the kusarigama over the past weeks, which also showcase some interesting new details. The kusarigama seems to be an extremely versatile weapon, with fast single strikes or wide sweeps with the weighted chain that can hit multiple foes. It's also an exceptional tool for stealth, thanks to the ability to use the chain to draw an enemy towards you and assassinate them, and this skill even seems to pierce enemy shields. What's also really cool is that the incendiary oil ghost tool also works on the kusarigama, and with the changes to the stance/weapon system, I think that means it's safe to assume it works on all weapons. Definitely looking forward to causing some havoc with my giant flaming odachi then, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We also got to see the Yari spear in action, which has access to a running charge that impales an enemy when you make contact with them. It's a surprisingly mobile weapon in general, as next to your charge you can also use the spear as a pole to vault and kick an enemy, or use it for a massive leap to close the distance to them. And while the wind stance is gone, the typhoon kick is not, as we can see Atsu using this ability to throw the last enemy off a bridge. So this seems to be more of a crowd control weapon, with all the pushing and leaping you are able to do. Very interesting to see how much these weapons differ from one another. Let me know if there's anything we missed in that new trailer, and subscribe, as you can expect a lot more Yotei content right here on the channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and watch the previous one about new details that got me way more excited by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.